The Flying Lion says,
boys, hell is real.
2023 Supporter Shield champs.
So glad that I can be back with people who know that it's a Flying Lion.
It shows how much we all love this club.
Yeah, just a fan of the sport, you know.
It's definitely tougher to be an academy player than it is a pro.
In this club, you don't play just for the club. You play for the fight.
Jersey swap, car of the week, trivia question of the week. Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Flying Lion podcast, coming to you on a week where FC Cincinnati is preparing for their next match. But Sam, we had a new player signed, finalized, potentially going to be announced here soon. So we'll get into that and then talk a little bit more about some player rumors in this episode. FC Cincinnati 2 had played. We got some U.S. men's national team updates, Club World Cup updates. And then we're going to do a little bit of the same with our cards of the week and our preview for this matchup. We have two matches, actually, so we'll get into that too. But Sam, how are we doing tonight?
Yeah, doing good. Obviously, not something that we were expecting, being able to get transfer news this early in June, but FC Cincinnati always ahead of the eight ball, right? Chris Albright working on those deals behind the scenes, and we got a lot of sources talking about it already. So, here at some point this summer, we're going to have an announcement about our player. But Ryan, we are signing, allegedly, right? Confirmed, kind of. Ender Echenique, right? Yeah. All right.
Ender Echenique, so 21-year-old winger from Caracas FC down in Venezuela. A 4.5-year contract is the rumor right now. It's been reported out there. I think Laurel's got it. Carter's mentioned it. So I think, this is all but real, except for the official announcement from FC Cincinnati. But I think they're waiting until this summer window to open in July. Sam, what's your initial reaction on, let's say, 21-year-old, so U22 deal? This is going to be for supposedly $550,000, 4.5-year contract. So what's your immediate thoughts?
Yeah, my immediate thought was that this is going to be a project. Not having heard of this player, seen him play at all, my initial reaction was, especially right, Ryan, like you said, 4.5 year deal is the rumored contract. So to me, pops out as, okay, this kid has a lot of potential. He's going to be a project. He could be somebody that we could see in the future we don't know what's going to happen with Evander, right? His quality, but we know Dotto's our guy, right? And these two, right, could be dueling 10s. They could be both wingers, and you got Denke up top, right? Or something like that for the future. So that was my initial reaction when I first saw the transfer.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, what caught their attention is the 4.5 year.
Yeah.
And for a 21-year-old player, that's a pretty solid contract. That's a hefty one for, your big move out of your home country, coming to the U.S. instead of potentially going to a Portuguese team, is some of the rumors that I had seen. So kind of nice to see us win that battle out against a European team. And the rumor is, he can play either wing. Obviously, he's right-footed. He's more comfortable on that. So your immediate thought goes to, hey, does he swing into a right wing back spot of need? Honestly, it was what we've been saying, that backup piece, that young player that could maybe vault their career, learn a thing or two, from a DeAndre Yedlin who's had a storied career, and really kind of elevate his game. He's already had a career year, 7 goals, 5 assists in almost 1,600 minutes this year for his squad. He's played in some big competitions down there in Venezuela. But excited to see this player and what he can do. My initial reaction, I'm going to do a hand-up accountability here. I thought he was going to be a next pro player, Sam. We've just seen so many young players coming in, to that side. But this guy seems pretty talented, and his value actually just went up on transfer market too. So, it's real. He's up to 1.6 million, I think, in his valuation. So, pretty cool to see us bring in, hopefully what can be a nice player that we can elevate even more.
The rumored deal is we got him for half of that, right? So not a bad deal on our side. Like Ryan said, he could play either wing, but he also is, I can't remember how new this is. I would assume it's very new, but his agent is through Wasserman, right? So we've got a lot of, huge company. They represent Miles Robinson, Roman, Brad Smith. So very familiar with FC Cincinnati and dealing with our guys. But Ryan, you got let the people know. Give us the FC 25 FIFA. What's going on with this guy?
Well, everyone wants to know. He's a 66 overall in FIFA, 78 pace, 71 dribble. I don't remember what his potential is. Sam, maybe you could do a quick search for us on that one.
I want to say it was like 76, 78.
Pretty solid. Yeah, absolutely. A pacey player. He loves to be on the ball. Obviously the FIFA stats have to kind of compare to the player.
Of course.
But from the videos and everything that I've seen now, because clearly had not heard of this player before. But yeah, very good on the ball, pacey winger, can actually be pretty physical on the ball as well. So I'm looking forward to see what he can do, maybe with, like you said, the likes of Evander in there, maybe even Dotto, and how does that look down the line in the next several years? Like I said, he'll be available to play hopefully once that July window opens. Is there any possibility that he can come in sooner and get things going? Because I think down in Venezuela, they're actually playing ball right now too. But it's kind of interesting, Sam. I wanted to put this out there. I hadn't seen it around the FCC circles. He'd be the third Venezuelan to play for FC Cincinnati, with the likes of Junior Mourinho, Kevin Kelsey last year, who's had a good year in Portland. And actually, Ricardo Paez is an assistant coach with us, a very well-known Venezuelan international player. So I wonder if there was any influence, from Ricardo and bringing in one Ender, or Ender's Game, as one might notice, from the book series. Are we going to get a tifo, Sam, or some sort of painting in the Bailey for that?
I don't know. I don't know specifically for him. Maybe, yeah, like you said, like maybe a small one, right? Like a player one up top. I think that would
player
be
one.
Like a good homage. Using the book series there.
Well, if you look at what the logo is too, it's kind of like the futuristic looking one. So maybe they have his head like on, like a robotic
with the background. Yeah,
I don't know. That'd be pretty cool.
I think it would. I
like his hands holding the soccer ball, or like his foot is like controlling it.
Ryan's getting real nerdy right now. If everybody's, it is a good book series though. So if you haven't checked it out, but Ryan, I think a lot of fans out there, whether they be, casual or mainstays, I think they're asking the question right now, like, what does this mean for Orishano?
Yeah, no, you pose a good question there. And Luka seems to have found a little bit more of a fit on the left side. What does that do, in the future for him? Who knows? This player is not going to slot in and be a starter right away. At least what I can say. So
he was in some lineups that I saw, but
yeah, you can.
I don't think
you
about
can dream down the road, but I don't think he slots into a very talented and experienced, 11 necessarily. He's got to prove something at this level. Venezuelan, league is, it's all right, but the MLS is another step for him. So how does he acclimate to this? And he'll have about 10 games, for the rest of the season, plus Leagues Cup as well, to kind of get acquainted. I think that's a perfect spot for him, Sam, to really kind of get integrated with the squad. I think you'll see a lot of Ender coming up, like I said, Leagues Cup at home especially.
Do you think he just puts more pressure on Orishano, like this signing, right, to be more goal scoring?
The pressure part of it, I wouldn't say. Now, does it bring some competition potentially?
Yeah, pressure, competition. Yeah.
In some aspects, but like I said, I think you see on the left side, you're pretty solid, Sam. If you look at Orishano, you look at with the likes of Brad Smith, with you looking at Lucas Engel as well. So on the right, I think there's a real opportunity for some backup minutes, with Yedlin being the main guy, Powell kind of slotting in there, but right now having to do some more roles in the center. I really feel like Ender could maybe find some minutes that way, more personally, in my opinion, than at Orishano. But, could he play even more centrally in some aspects too? Potentially. He's not the biggest of players. I think he's only 5'9", actually.
Yeah.
So he's not going to be playing like in an advanced center position role. He's going to be more out wide. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see. An exciting, development, as we had alluded to. We didn't really see any of this coming. But like you said, Chris Albright's always on the lookout. How can we make this team better?
Chris is cooking.
The thing, Sam, that really speaks to me is this would make him the second U22 player on our roster. Obviously, with not necessarily even Dotto, because he's homegrown, correct?
Yeah.
So it would be Gilberto Flores. So those two. And then you have possibly room for two more
spots,
if you go with the current roster selection. So Are they really opening their options to, hey, can we flip it over and get a DP out of this? Or do we want to keep with just these two? Do we want to go 4 of U22s? It's hard to find a quality player, in that spot that can contribute. Luckily, we don't necessarily like need that person to be like a starter or even huge minutes. But if Ender can come in and provide, what would you say? I'll pose this to you. What would be a successful first 10 games for him, maybe?
3 goal contributions.
Okay, that's fair. I like that. Probably 2 assists and a goal, maybe.
Yeah, or vice versa, right? I think 3 would be really good to show, because right away, like you said, he's not going to be, in the starting 11 right away. He's probably going to do some sub appearances. And then, if we get, closer into Leagues Cup and all these other competitions right after these competitions, right, we're going to need some more bodies. So that rotation factor is going to be really crucial for him. So, yeah, I mean, what do you think? 3 as well, or?
Yeah, no, I would agree. I'd say 3 is reasonable. Minute wise, he's not gonna probably get a ton.
No.
But again, that super sub that can come in and change the game. I think that's what you're missing on the width, especially on the right side.
Well, that's what you see at the end of the game, Ryan, right? Like we've talked about a lot about Pat Noonan and his Pat Noonan ball, right? And being able to shut the game down and score more goals when you're up and not just, all right, rely on a 1 goal, win. Let's continue to attack. So hopefully this will help out.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We'll keep an eye on this one, maybe seeing when Ender's going to be coming into Cincinnati, starting to train with the squad. We're only, a week away technically here, a little over a week away from July already.
Yeah.
That window opens, I believe, is it July 15th or 16th? So we'll potentially get this player here in the next few weeks. Will he be available for the likes, I believe, maybe of the Inter Miami game? He's not really going to have anything under his belt unless he comes in early to practice. But again, I don't know if they're allowed to do that before the window opens. We've signed players before. I think Boop is the more recent one that comes to mind that had played almost right away after he was signed. But that deal was done, I think, a little bit ahead of time. So it'll be interesting to see. We'll follow that one. The other big one, Sam, we had mentioned that Bayern Munich had played, obviously in TQL, 10-0 win against Auckland City, but we kind of, failed to mention the fact that Jeff Birding had actually come out and said, hey, we're still looking to maybe bring in Thomas Muller, the legend from Bayern Munich. We had talked about it before. It was kind of shot down in terms of, hey, he turned down this contract. Right now, he doesn't have a solidified place. I'm hearing a lot of, rumors here and there. Apparently his camp had reached out to the Philadelphia Union to see if there was any availability. The Union said, hey, we don't have the flexibility in our roster. It doesn't make any sense. The Union aren't that spending team. There's no way he
not at
ends
all.
up in Philly based on what I'm hearing that this guy is wanting, per year. But Jeff Birding had come out and made this quote. He went out to the BILD, I guess the Bild, if you want to call it, out at Germany, a huge newspaper there in Germany, and said, we made him a good offer. We had several discussions with his advisors. In the end, he has many options. We respect it. If he and his advisors are looking for something else, that's part of football business. But he said it's not over until he signs with another club. So I love that Birding is like, hey, I'm really pushing for this. But we know his farewell tour with Bayern, is here at the Club World Cup. And then he'll decide what to do after that. So there is that little bit of that window. But now, Muller has scored in TQL. He has seen, hey, we have a big stadium, a nice atmosphere. And I love Sammy always puts in, we have a great German history. We're capable of winning titles. I think after this comes out, Taylor Twellman actually, says that, hey, him and his wife love horses. And what a great place to potentially, have that happen. So interesting to kind of see after a lot had been shot down. A lot of rumors had been about, like I said, Philly, and then LAFC is the other big one that I had been hearing.
Yeah, I think now, Birding doing this interview, right, it comes back up, right? And this is exactly what you want as a club to be continued in the conversation. You want to be in the headlines. You want to be out and about, especially not only for Muller's sake, but also for other players, right? So if if clubs around the world and players around the world see that we're going to be ambitious and just, hey, we're going to put it out there. This is who we want, and until he signs with another club, we're going to keep trying. And it shows ambition. And why wouldn't you want to go to a club that shows that? So, yeah, I think that the Birding interview definitely makes us sound good. And obviously, in the interview as well, Ryan, he talks about our German history in Cincinnati. And I think that's also it's a mainstay, right? I mean, we've seen Dortmund, they took over the pitch right across the street from TQL. So, yeah, Thomas Muller, you got a taste of it, dude. He scored a goal in TQL. I mean, he knows what's here. So it like he says, it's just a matter. He's got options, and hopefully we're one of them.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to follow this one. I still, if I had to put a number on it being, a possibility, I love to see like transfer market, puts the odds of things. But
10% chance.
You're going 10. I'm going to lock in 20.
All right.
I'm going to lock in 20 because right now, LAFC is coming off their, I think, exit, of the Club World Cup. The Union, let's be honest, they're not signing Thomas Muller. So if anything, it's between us and LAFC. If he's coming to the U.S., it'll be interesting to see a 35-year-old, center forward who still has a lot, left in the tank. He, again, had made the starting lineup, I believe, right, for Bayern Munich and was scoring goals. Yeah, one to follow. We'll see. Like we said before, we thought this was maybe something in the background, and then it got shot down. Like, it's always going to be that way with a big player like this. You're always going to hear a lot of chatter about it. So one to follow. But Sam, we did have FC Cincinnati 2 game. They played at Chattanooga, who actually was pretty high up in the Next Pro standings, like we had mentioned the last time. I think like second or third.
They were second, yeah.
So this game ends at a 0-0 final score, but we ended up winning 8-7 in the PKs, the funny PKs that happen, with the ties down in Next Pro. But give me your thoughts on what you had seen for this.
Yeah, I tuned in live for the PKs on Apple TV there, which was really cool. Got to see our guys in action, and Ryan, it was back and forth. Both teams were making just every PK pretty well, but we made the save that counts, and that's our 3rd positive fixture in a row. So we're on the up and up. It seems like this team, chemistry wise, is doing better now, and we're continuing just build positivity, right? Whether it be a win or a draw, you get 2 points, right? It's crazy, right? They have yet to lose a shootout this season, though. They're 4-0 in shootouts, so they're getting 2 points, 2 points, 2 points, 2 points.
To me, that's impressive for Paul Walters, right? Yeah. I mean, if he's winning all these shootouts, that means.
Well, so it was different goalkeeper. It was Crockford.
Oh, really? Okay, all right.
Crockford. Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, something. No, I mean, but between the two of them, doing well. We're still sitting in 14th due to goal differential, but tied on points. So could maybe make that leap here in a couple games, but they remain on the road for their next match. It's going to be against the New York Red Bulls 2 team. That's going to be this coming Sunday. Best team in MLS Next Pro, Sam, now coached by Michael Bradley.
Yeah.
Kind of interesting to see his name pop up in the U.S. circles and in the coaching realm. He was doing a little bit of time, I think, with the Canadian national team.
I was about to say, yeah, you saw his
Gold
name
Cup
out there as well.
So, yeah, good for him for, getting back into things. But let's go and beat him.
Yeah, this is going to be a tough team. Obviously, last year we beat them out. I believe they came in second in the East last year after us. Or was that Philly? That might have been Philly. But yeah, I mean, New York has always had a decent academy, being able to bring in young guys. You see them, be able to bring in young guys even to the first team. So yeah, hopefully we're able to continue maybe a 4th positive result this next week. But Ryan, U.S. men's national team Gold Cup games, what did we think of it? I mean, we had 2 games between, our last episode. What were your thoughts? I mean, we had Saudi Arabia, we had Haiti. If you want to talk about Saudi Arabia first.
Yeah, I tuned in for this one, looking to, maybe see Miles get an appearance. He does get a sub in the 88th minute in a game where we actually had taken the lead at that point. And it's kind of interesting, Sam. Pochettino puts Miles Robinson in as right back. Mm-hmm. So they had, Tim Ream and Chris Richards there. He seems to, for whatever reason, love Tim Ream. I'm not sure why we're still throwing him in, but yeah, he comes in at right back. He fills in nicely, and nothing really happens from that point on, and they see out the result. But past that, yeah, it was an interesting match. Like for the U.S. against Saudi Arabia, it's a pretty solid squad. But Chris Richards' goal gives us that 3 points on a set piece. I think Berhalter might have had that ball into the box, which might have been offside. I might have to say it was very close. But they get the result nonetheless. I think it's good for Miles to be still around everything, obviously. But Sam, I mean, what's your thoughts on like this guy's played like 20 minutes now in formalized Gold Cup matches? He obviously played 45 minutes against Turkey. I can't say like that was completely on him. Like the one goal potentially was, but he didn't really get another run out as a starter for any of these matches. And I think he's trying to keep continuity in the back line. But again, if we're looking to the future, is Tim Ream that option? Like they haven't, I think, even brought Walker Zimmerman in at all. So at least, Miles Robinson is above him. But what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, we both know that Miles is more likely to be on that World Cup squad rather than Tim Ream, just because of the age factor, right?
Who knows, man?
But you would want Miles, those younger legs, right? Honestly, playing on a better team in the MLS. And yeah, I mean, you see it, right? I mean, if you want to move to the Haiti game, he doesn't play at all.
Yeah.
We see honestly a close game, U.S. men's national team versus Haiti. Another Charlotte FC guy gives them the win in this one though in the 75th minute, and no Miles, right? Doesn't come in for an 80th minute or a 90th minute, sub appearance. So I don't know if we're going to see him in the quarterfinal here. U.S. men's national team won the group. They won Group D. I think, Ryan, I saw a stat that they have not lost a group stage game in the Gold Cup in 22 matches, I think, 22 matches, which is pretty solid. I think
solid, but games that they should win. Like
no,
I think it's you have to still get the results. So like, yes, you would say it's impressive that they've gotten the results, but when you're playing Trinidad and Tobago and Haiti and like those are
Saudi
games
Arabia.
as the US you should win if you have ambitions in the World Cup. But a lot of the times Gold Cup is kind of seen as like your B, potentially C squad type of tournament. So I mean, these guys are fighting for spots, like you said, for the World Cup next year. And what does that look like in terms of, if Miles isn't starting with this squad, what is it going to look like for next year?
The A squad. Yeah.
I would argue that even with some of our guys back, like you have a lot of your A squad, if you want to call it.
Tyler Adams, Chris Richards.
Well, I'm saying on the back line. Who's the guys? Cameron Carter-Vickers maybe is the other center back that's not there that would be potentially, Walker Zimmerman and Ream were your center backs for the World Cup from 2022. Richards is probably going to be, a locked in guy now after this tournament. But Miles is fighting for that at least sub, spot, I would say. Does he even go for
fifth, sixth spot? Yeah.
Mark McKenzie didn't really impress me when I saw him in that game as well against, I think it was Switzerland. But yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what does Miles look at going into next year, and what does Pochettino value, Sam? Getting minutes. So if he tries to make the leap to another squad, like he's going to have to be playing consistently. And if that's a team in Europe, like that's not always a guarantee. So to me, this kind of locks in. Miles is still getting the call to the U.S. Maybe he's not starting. He's fighting for those positions, but he's in a good spot to potentially make the roster. And I think that's exactly what he wants. Because last time he had injury that took it, right from under his feet. And he had I wouldn't say a solidified spot for World Cup, but he was pretty high up on the list.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think, as Miles looks at this, hopefully he's able to get a little bit more minutes here as we get into the quarterfinals. U.S. men's national team plays Costa Rica here in the quarterfinals. I believe right now
it'll be on Sunday.
I'm saying like right now we've got teams playing to like decide rest of the quarterfinals. But yes, they do on Sunday. And honestly, that's a not a tough draw, but that's
tougher.
it's tougher draw than you would have thought going into the quarterfinals. Costa Rica's a decent team.
Well, it could have been
Um,
Mexico was the
it
other
could have been.
option.
Yeah, I
You
know it
know,
could have been. Mexico won their group, right? And if they would have came in second, it would have been U.S. versus Mexico in the quarterfinals.
it's kind of wild. I'm very interested to see how this current, roster and how it looks matches up against, some of these other ones. They don't have their A squads necessarily, even for the Mexican side or the Costa Rican side. But yeah, one to follow. Again, tune in on Sunday, see if Miles maybe even gets a sub. I don't know if he's going to start at this point based on how we've seen things, but
Probably not.
Sam, he's staying healthy. That's what
Yeah.
matters. So we're happy about that. But on the Club World Cup side, I've been following this tournament over this past week, and it's just gotten more and more exciting from my standpoint. I think seeing a lot of the cool atmosphere around TQL has helped with that. So I want to kind of touch on that first. Obviously, we touched on the Bayern match, but Pachuca Salzburg unfortunately gets hit with the weather bug. In the middle of the match, they get that huge delay. But it ended up being Salzburg that wins 2-1. I saw a lot of fans that are like, are we Pachuca fans then, for this one? Or are we more Salzburg fans? Like, that was kind of interesting to see. Attendance for that one was so-so,
Yeah.
just I think because of the weather
Weather.
and what we
Yeah.
were predicting. But you saw a big, bounce back with Dortmund. So Dortmund played the Mamelodi Sundowns, a team from South Africa, and man, did they put on a show.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this was a high scoring affair. I mean, you get two games at TQL, 10-goal game and a 7-goal game. I mean, that's pretty good as far as entertainment wise, being there for it. But yeah, I think Mamelodi had a decent showing as well as far as fans, which was cool to see. I know,
Yeah,
what was it?
they went up in the match like right away with an unbelievable solo goal.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, so did you see pre-match though? Teenage Hidebe met like one of the players. Did you see like off the
Yeah.
escalator in the hotel? He was like waiting for him. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, that's pretty special. And they were giving out shirts to some people that were in attendance as well. So gaining in, why not? You're here, you're watching this team you've never heard of,
Two
but
yellow teams playing against each other. Yeah,
in TQL, like a place where you would never want to see a yellow team. But yeah, your earlier comment about Dortmund taking over the pitch was really special.
yeah.
I think what was funny to me is Bayern did something very similar for theirs. And, awesome marketing, honestly, from these teams, massive clubs, obviously, to
Mhm.
come in,
Yeah.
but to say, all right, send me the dimensions of X, Y, and Z, the side of your, plaza, the side of the wall. We're going to get banners, we're going to get everything, flags. And so Bayern does it. And then, a week later, you see Dortmund just up classes them, in my opinion, just based on how they took over the pitch. It was pretty cool.
Absolutely. And you saw their mascot there all over the place. I mean, I
Club
know,
legends,
yeah,
too, in the
club
meet and
legends as
greet.
well. Yeah, I
I
mean that.
think Bayern had that as well with the trophy. They had the Bundesliga
Yeah,
trophy, so I will give them a shout out for that too. But no, it was cool to see, all of them there in the day before, just to celebrate
well,
that they're
they
in the
had
US.
stuff. They had stuff at different locations too, right? Wasn't Dortmund down at like Moorline Brew House, right?
Hmm.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I mean, they're going all around Cincinnati, doing little pop-up activations, not just at one spot, which is really cool.
Yeah. Sam Joe Bellingham can say he officially got his first ever goal with Borussia
In
Dortmund in
TQL.
Cincinnati.
Very special.
And then the next day his brother scores for Real Madrid, and they do the same celebration. So that was kind of funny to see. But yeah, it's been an exciting tournament. I think there's been some upsets. Inter Miami actually beats Porto, a massive club in Portugal. First MLS team to ever beat a team from a top 5 league in Europe, ever in a tournament edition. That was really painful for me to read and to actually see the result. But at the same token, it's like hopefully that shows somewhat the class of the MLS and what it could be. If you look at the results for today, especially PSG against Seattle Sounders, 2-0. That's not terrible. So other teams are making some noise. Again, it kind of makes me think, how would we do, in this setting? A lot of these teams are complaining about the heat, and I think that's where I'm going to roll into my card of the week here, Sam. My card of the week was the Dortmund bench that was watching from the locker room in 87-degree weather. What are we
Yeah.
doing? I mean, like, okay, I get it. One thing to be in there as long as you can before, but during the match, you get this photo of, 12 guys sitting in there watching on the little TV. Like 87 is not that. I get it. You're from, Germany and it's not usually this bad, but like you've played in worse though. Come on. And like, if you got to get ready for the World Cup next year, like now's the time.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting look. I was watching, I think it was CBS Golazo, was also like reacting to this, and they were saying, something very similar of like, guys, like it's not it's not that bad. Like it's not that bad where like you're half in, half out of shade, but you're sitting. Like you're not having to run too much. But yeah, like if you're sitting there, you'll probably sweat just because that's how it works. But
The
once
benches are in the
again,
shade in TQL.
I know like it depends where the sun is, coming in.
Time of the day. That's true.
But yeah, I just be on the bench. And then when they are on the bench in the second half, they've got umbrellas. Did you see that?
Yeah, I did see that. It's pretty funny. I mean, it's kind of ridiculous, honestly. And they have had hydration breaks, which is great. I mean, I get
Yeah,
that, but
yeah.
like there's no reason to have the rest of your bench, inside during the game. Pretty funny. Sam, what did you have for your card of the week?
Yeah, I also had some Club World Cup stuff for my card of the week. Mine was the Mamelodi Sundowns versus Dortmund, their first goal, the celebration. I mean, Ryan, if you go back and watch a clip of this, I mean, it was the first goal of the game in the 11th minute, Sundowns breakaway goal, and the player hits the Steph Curry night celebration. Um, they end up losing 4-3 at the end of the game. Why are we hitting that celebration that early in the game? There are plenty of other celebrations you could have done.
All right, my guy is playing in America, probably for the first time. He just scored a worldie from half field. And he's like, hey, Steph's my favorite player. I'm in the US. I'm going to celebrate accordingly. And you may not get that chance again, Sam.
He's got some other celebrations though. He's got do the chest and the finger. Do
The
something else.
LeBron, would you have liked the LeBron better being in Ohio?
I LeBron would have been more appropriate. Yeah,
Well, that guy's a Curry fan, so
that's true. That's true. We know what kind of
that's true.
NBA fan he is.
You can't night celebration in like the second or third minute of the game. But hey, shout out. You're keeping it fun. That's a FIFA celebration right there.
Well, so at that point, Ryan, let's say, I mean, obviously, if we're talking FIFA, right? If somebody does that, like a celebration like that to you, first goal of the game, right? You see that as a disrespectful celebration. Am I wrong? Am I wrong? Right? You're playing online, right? You see somebody do that, and you're like, okay, all right, buddy. Like,
Well, I'm probably mashing that X button to advance the screen as fast as I can.
That and the meme of like sitting forward, right?
Yeah.
That's exactly what we're doing after that.
Yeah, for sure. Speaking on the basketball side of things, what do you think of the walkouts? So, for those who aren't familiar, Club World Cup is testing out for the teams instead of coming out collectively as a team. They're having each player be announced and individually walking out, like it is like an NBA game, onto the court. This time onto the pitch. Sam, what are your thoughts?
I'm not for it. I'm usually when it comes to sports, I tend to lean more towards the traditional side. And the walkout is a very traditional thing that you do in soccer. It's, a very respectful type thing. It also gives players, you see them, kiss the grass or touch the grass right before they get in. Obviously, they could do that as an individual player as well when being announced, but coming out as a squad, I don't know, it's more powerful.
Mm-hmm.
When you see just two lines, right, coming out with the referee in the middle with the ball, I don't know, it kind of, there's more meaning to it. Whereas, like you said, it's more NBA now, and they're trying to be more showful and have more showmanship. I get it, I do, but I don't think it works for soccer.
Especially in like if you want to call it a neutral site tournament. If
Yeah,
you
not
want
many
to
of your
say,
fans are there.
Well, like typically, FC Cincinnati games, you have the announcer yells the first name, and then you have everyone yell the last name of the player.
Yeah.
For Leagues Cup, like there had been no chance, to do any of our pregame traditions, which is just dumb. Like, why are we taking those away? Conca Champions, same thing. Like, why are we taking it away? I'd prefer the walkouts where you at least say their names, that way and let the fans cheer them on then versus nothing. So if it's that setting of like you don't do anything or you do something, like at least do that. But I'm with you. I'm a traditionalist for soccer. When you walk out, you're as a squad and you
Yeah.
see them lined up. You see the kids holding their hand. Like there's no kids that get to hold these guys' hands, and they're the best players around the world coming.
Yeah,
to the
we need
US.
mascots.
Like I need that to happen, and it is a little bit frustrating. I think they're trying something. I hope it doesn't happen for next year in the World Cup, Sam.
I agree. I can't agree more. But Ryan, we've got previews now. We've got a game on Wednesday, got a game on Saturday, but today we're going to touch on the Wednesday game. We're going up north.
Yeah, game match. We're gonna keep it consistent. We have two matches. We always put the match day graphic out, so I'm gonna call it match. It's a game, whatever you want to call it. The match day 19 though.
Okay.
So CF Montreal, we're going up and playing away where they actually had just beaten Houston 3-1. Kind of interesting because CF Montreal, Sam, has been last in the East all season long, and they're actually looking to sell some of their players as we speak as well, too. So first matchup of the year for us against them. We split it last year, which I had to go back and remind myself, like, man, did we actually, split this series? But yeah, I think this game for me, hopefully, is one where we can regain a lot of confidence in the attack. You're going to a place where actually Montreal has a pretty awesome atmosphere for an away game. I'd always, like to get up there. I think at some point there, or either, Toronto as well, or Vancouver would be pretty cool. But it'll be interesting to see. It sounds like to me, Sam, from training notes, if we want to go into it, all of our guys pretty much are back. The Nick Haglund and Miles, obviously is no brainer there, but Kubo's back. Santos may be a little bit limited. He's got a knock that he picked up here recently, different than the leg
The original
tightness.
one. Yeah.
Yeah. So, what are your thoughts? What are we thinking for lineup wise? And then as well, you put back line. What does our back line look like?
Yeah, I think, with Kubo being back, maybe he makes a sub appearance or something like that. Especially if Santos is still out. That gives you a forward to rely on up front there for later in the game. But yeah, I think lineup wise for the back, I mean, do you see similar to what we saw, right, with Flores in the back and Matt Miazga, or do you see a Hidebe? I know you could go either way, but I don't think Flores played that bad next to Miazga last game, and I could see them going back to that with Engel on his left side. But where do you put, the rest of the guys, right? Are the wingers there? Is Yedlin on, Miazga's right? Is Orshano on Engel's left? Like what's going on there?
I don't know, man. I think from what I would like to see, there's a lot of good things that happen in New England. A lot of where it broke down was more, in transition or where we bunkered back instead of retaining possession. So
And that was late game.
well,
Yeah.
the back line actually played pretty decent. So yeah, I think you see obviously Miazga is going to be your anchor. I think Flores gets a run out. The question would be, yeah, like you said, does Hidebe start in that spot? But then where do you put Luca Orshano? So I think if you want to keep him on the left, then for now, honestly, they probably trust Lucas Engel to play that left center back. And then you have, honestly, Sam, if you look at it, more of like a rotated back line where, I think Orshano plays up a little bit more. You have Engel that plays more kind of like a left back situation. And then you have Flores and Miazga kind of more like a traditional center back. With Yedlin that stays home. It's almost what the U.S. men's national team does with Anthony Robinson when he gets up really high on that left side. That left center back covers a little bit more. So I look to probably see the same in this match. We haven't seen a lot of consistency from him in lineup. So, of course, because we're saying this, he's probably going to switch it up. But I would imagine it's going to be that you're going to have Obi and Buka in the middle, Evander, Denke. And then do we see Dotto? Do we see Kai Kamara, Sam? What are your thoughts?
I would hope we see Dotto. I mean, it feels like we've lost some Dotto momentum. And I'm not sure that that's good for his progression. I mean, seriously, I think he was on a roll there. And you didn't reward him with a start. After his game winning / game tying goal, right? That we got screwed over. But yeah, I think I would love to see Dotto get a start, get a heavy sub appearance, maybe at 45, 50, right? I need more Dotto.
It's kind of funny to me, like we're saying, do we put our 40-year-old guy at striker as a better option right now for the team who, had just been doing some broadcasting on the side and, had been stepping away for a little
Yeah,
bit.
yeah.
But is that the better option, honestly? Like
Well, it
what we
depends the
see?
style of play, right? Like, how is Montreal looking to play? I mean, I haven't scouted them, right? So are they playing more over the top or are they playing in between the lines? How does their defense move, right? If they
Right.
have a little bit of a smaller defense, not as physical, definitely put Kamara in, and the hold up play is going to be phenomenal, similar to the New England game where you saw him be able to drop it on his feet and be able to get going with Denke.
Yeah, I would love to see them build on what worked in the first 45. It worked. There's a lot of thoughts out there about what is the best situation for us, and I haven't seen the consistency with a one striker system. That I think another run out with two might be the better play. But like you said, maybe it's 45 and then Dotto gets 45, so then it's equal. And who cares
Well, and you
necessarily
get
who
some young
starts?
legs there in the second half.
Right. Yeah. No, I think that's probably what you see, especially with, like you had said, I think in a previous episode, with Santos being out potentially.
Mhm.
I shouldn't say that's for sure, but you have a little bit more options, with Kai there, I would say. Then do you have Baird come in like that situation, or like you said, Kubo? You have more options though, than what we've seen. I thought we were going to be a little thinner, honestly, through this stretch of things, but this has allowed us to regain a lot of players, and we have a very important stretch coming up. So I think the game management and trying to figure this one out. Sam, for me, a prediction wise, I'm going to go a 3-1 win. I think Denke builds and gets his fourth goal in 4 games. I think Evander gets back on the score sheet because we're due for an Evander goal as well. But I'm looking like we need a dominant win, and this would be kind of a nice moment to do it. Again, a team that you should beat. Go beat the teams that you should beat.
Yeah, I'm gonna go 2-1 on this one. I think we're gonna come out a little slow here in the beginning, just because we haven't played at this pace in a real game in a while. So I would kind of look to see that. But yeah, 2-1, and I think we go with a 1 goal win.
Yeah, I mean, that's the way that it's been. So for a betting man, like we said, like that's the smart call and that's a good shout. So, but on a 2 match day week, Sam, if you go from Wednesday now to Saturday, does the team come home? Probably, I would imagine after Wednesday, they're probably at home and then they immediately have to turn around. We go down and play in Orlando. So match day 20 on Saturday, June 27th. Orlando's been a team that's, I would say, honestly, one that I would be a little bit fearful of just because we haven't played well against them historically in the past few seasons.
Yeah, Orlando's a tough team usually for us, either away or at home, honestly. And they're going to be playing a midweek game themselves against St. Louis City, which isn't much. So we'll see where their fitness levels are coming into the weekend. Right now, Orlando sits 5th in the East, and usually, Ryan, like you said, like at the end of the season, though, they make a late run, usually most seasons, and you'll see them trickle into that even third, second spot in most cases.
Thank goodness they're actually going to play in St. Louis. So that helps in terms of like they're
Travel,
traveling,
yeah.
as well. They're without one of their budding stars in Alex Freeman, their right back who's 20 years old. He's been starting every game for the U.S. men's national team. So nice timing for us to, play them without him. But they've had a revival of Luis Muriel, a legend striker. But I believe their other striker is out right now. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. But Duncan McGuire, I believe, has been out. He's had a shoulder injury that he's having surgery on, so he'll be missing in this one. But Oscar Pereira always rolls out a solid,
Yeah.
awesome squad for Orlando, I would say. I was struggling to find the words for it, but they sit at 5th right now. I think for me, Sam, like you had, I believe, said in this one, I'm going to go with a tie. I'm going to lock in a 0-0. We haven't had a 0-0. I think you're going to have a 0-0 tie in this one.
Yeah, I'm gonna go 1-1, like you said. Go with a draw, and yeah, I think Orlando City is just a tough team to play. And at the end of this road trip, Ryan, it'll be the last game in June. So we'll finally have a home game heading into July, and at this point, just get a draw, right? Just get a draw, get a result, get home, and be able to relax a little bit. Drive to Mercy Health instead of worrying about, like you said, are we going to fly into Cincy and then leave like immediately? So that's the plan there. But last season they gave us some headaches, right? We split that series as well last season. So what does that look like this year? Is there going to be any rotation for this lineup?
Yeah, that's what was going to be my question for you. I think you probably do see a few changes. He always likes to do that here in the past few seasons. So
We don't like the same lineup.
we
We
definitely don't.
we don't do that.
Does that maybe give Kubo a chance to start then in this second one? Do you see Dado start in that one and not in the first one? I think those are probably the subtle changes. Do you think Anunga makes a start for one of them instead of Obi?
I would say card accumulation or something has, would say something about that in the Montreal game, just to be careful with Obi. But yeah, I think Anunga is a good shout there for a start because you want to keep a guy like that too with confidence because he's more than capable to be in that starting 11 for sure. But yeah, I agree with you. I think we see some rotation for this lineup against Orlando City. But I mean, is this? I'm assuming it's going to be hot down there in Florida, right?
Yeah, what's funny? It's actually been warmer here in Cincinnati than it has been down there. Just from some people I've spoken to, there's a decent amount of people that are actually going down for this match too, for this weekend. It'd be kind
Good
of a
time of
nice
the year
one
to do it.
Yeah, I was gonna say a good one to go to. But yeah, I'm excited about it. It feels like it's been, a larger break than it has been from FCC because we had this big gap after, the one game that we did have. But I'm excited for two matches. I want everyone to kind of feel the hype again building into this summer now that we've officially hit summer. But it really, like you said, Sam, will hit us once we come home. And so get through these matches, get some positive results. I think, like we're saying, 4 points out of it would be a pretty solid week all in all. And then from there, how can we look at the big matches that are going to be. So again, thanks for joining us tonight in this little hodgepodge of an episode that we had for you. Maybe we'll get some, even more roster decisions, Sam. What does it look like for guys potentially even going out of the team? I think that was the other thing we didn't really touch on with Ender coming in. Does that mean somebody's being dropped, Sam?
Yeah, I guess we'll see here in the coming
find out.
months. Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely.
But on Wednesday, we will have reactions after the game on Wednesday. So go look for our YouTube page. Might even be posted on Goals TV. Not sure yet, but we're going to try and do some reaction videos for you guys here after away games going forward.
Hopefully a positive one to start this reactionary video too. But like Sam said, we'll be here for it. We'll be here hopefully for all the news from FC Cincinnati land. But thanks again for listening or watching tonight. If you're on YouTube, go and find us again, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you find your podcasts. Go like and subscribe us and show us some love. Thanks again, guys. We'll see you next time.